Federal prosecutors in Manhattan are looking into the way the Trump campaign spent its record amount of inauguration funds. Now, this was money that the Trump campaign received, or the Trump's administration received through massive donations from big corporate donors. And federal prosecutors in Manhattan are investigating whether Trump's 2017 inaugural committee actually misspent some of the record $107 million it raised from donations. Diverting funds from the organization, which was registered as a nonprofit, could violate federal law. Now, this was a story reported by the Wall Street Journal, and it talks about some of the specific donors who gave massive amounts of money to Trump's inauguration committee. And there was a little bit of, bribery taking place. Believe it or not, there's still some forms of bribery that are outlawed in America.
It does seem stunning.
It does seem stunning, yes. Now, the criminal probe by the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office, which is in its early stages, also is examining whether some of the committee's top donors gave money in exchange for access to the incoming Trump administration, policy concessions, or to influence official administration positions. There are some specific people mentioned, which I'll get to in just a second, but Cenk, jump in.
Yeah, first of all, I love how we found out about this, as usual, from Michael Cohen's recordings. I told you the minute that they raided his offices and house, Trump and everybody else was toast. And bad guys do this often. They record other people without their permission, just in case they want to use it against them. And so Donald Trump did that a lot, and so did Michael Cohen, his attorney. But the problem is, and they never take this into account, and it's actually quite stunning. What if they get your what if the authorities get your recordings? Then you're also in trouble. Same exact problem that Richard Nixon had. He recorded all the Oval Office meetings, and then of course he wanted to burn them, but it was too late, and that led to his downfall. So very similar here in Michael Cohen's case, and in this particular story, I'm a little torn because what they charge is potentially significantly corrupt, and we're going to give you a case here that seems like the most obvious bribery you've ever seen in your life, right? Mm-hmm. But the reason I'm torn on it is because who are we kidding? All of this is bribes. Everything in Washington is a bribe. So it's a bit of a joke here to be like, oh, we found one piece of wrongdoing here. It turns out a donor gave money to get something in return. You don't say, really? So it bothers me that we've agreed upon the fiction that the rest of the donations are not bribes when they clearly are. But if they couldn't even, and this is so classic Trump, they allow for legalized bribery in this system as a matter of course, and you still couldn't figure out a way to take it legally?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, you schmuck. Okay.
Right, I know, that's the miraculous part of this story. But I want to add another wrinkle to the way federal prosecutors found out about the potential misuse of these funds. So as Cenk had mentioned, it was through Michael Cohen's audio recordings. In one of those recordings, there was one specific woman who actually was raising the issue about how these funds were being used, and that's what tipped the federal prosecutor. So FBI agents obtained a recorded conversation between Michael Cohen and Stephanie Winston Wolkoff, who actually used to be one of the advisors to the First Lady, in which she expressed concern about how the inaugural committee was spending the money. So she brings that up. It's being recorded through this raid of Michael Cohen's, his office and his apartment. They obtain that recording, and it tips them off to the possible misuse of funds. Now, Trump's funds came largely from wealthy donors and corporations who gave $1 million or more, including casino billionaire Sheldon Adelson and AT&T and Boeing Company, right? Now, Manhattan federal prosecutors have talked to someone already. It's a Tennessee developer, Franklin Haney, for documents related to a $1 million donation he made to Trump's inaugural committee. Now, he had hired Michael Cohen, at the time serving as Trump's personal lawyer, to help obtain a $5 billion loan from the Energy Department for a nuclear power project.
So that's the one that's super clear. Anyone with any sense, doesn't matter where you are on the political spectrum, so this guy gives $1 million to the inaugural committee to curry favors with the Republican administration. Then he hires the president's personal lawyer, funnels money to him, and in return, he'd like a $5 billion project from the government. Now, if you hate big government, that's exactly what you hate. If you hate crony capitalism, that's exactly what you hate. And if you hated the swamp, that's exactly what you hate. And so conservatives should be seething over that. Progressives obviously can't stand that. That's corruption defined. But that goes to my point. Why do you think Boeing gave the $1 million? Why do you think AT&T gave the $1 million? Like, the corporations are untouchable, right? Oh, AT&T, they must have had a legitimate purpose. No, their purpose is to influence the government so they can get favors. Favors like killing net neutrality, which is what Donald Trump did. His administration did AT&T a much bigger favor. That might be worth more than $5 billion. So Boeing, well, they sell stuff to foreign countries like Saudi Arabia. And when Saudi Arabia chopped a reporter up into pieces, Donald Trump said, no, we got to protect Boeing's contracts and the defense contractors' contracts. You think that Boeing and AT&T are giving money to politicians for their health, for charity? Who's stupid enough to believe that other than the United States Supreme Court and every corrupt politician in Washington?
Ben Shapiro.
And Ben Shapiro, yes, fair enough. So it's all bribes. It's all bribes. But Haney, if they went outside the law, and it looks like here there's some potential for that, and made it a little bit more clear. There are, yes, still laws against corruption if you don't follow the correct way of doing corruption in America, and you could go to prison. A lot of people could be in a lot of trouble. There's a lot more to investigate in this story. Of the $103 million it spent for just inauguration, that's twice more than what Obama spent in the last record back in 2009. And that was outrageous. I mean, that was extravagant and lavish, and we criticized that at the time, right? This more than doubled it. Adelson, the guy with the casino billionaire, he wants more than anybody else. He wants tax cuts. He wants to make sure that there are no unions and wages are lower. He has foreign policy interests, et cetera, right?
And he's been getting everything that he's been wanting.
Every one of these guys on the list has gotten the things that they want. So out of the $103 million that they spent, $61 million is somewhat accounted for, but they're tracking down all those expenses. But the rest of it, the $42 million, they're like, what does that mean? I mean, they're just throwing around millions of dollars totally unaccounted for. And yes, there is potential for illegal actions here, and I hope they chase it down to the end of the earth. And if these guys are stupid enough to do it outside the law, they should suffer the significant and heavy consequences. And all Americans should be in favor of that. If you hate the swamp, this is the swamp defined. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.